So, as most of you should know, last weekend was Go Topless weekend here in Galveston County, more specifically, I guess, Crystal Beach, over on the Bolivar Peninsula. And so, as I do with most big holiday weekends, I'll run the numbers, look at the arrests, and see what kind of activity we had. And this weekend was pretty big for law enforcement. In the county, in all of Galveston County, it looks like we had about 395 arrests. And it looks like about 250 of those were on Crystal Beach. We had, on the 19th, it looks like for all of Galveston County, there was 117 arrests, with 70 being from Crystal Beach. On Saturday the 20th, which was the biggest day for the entire county, we had 187 arrests, 132 of those being in Crystal Beach. And then Sunday was 91 for the county, with 48 of those being in Crystal Beach. Now, you know, when I went through these, it was pretty clear that law enforcement was being fairly strict on enforcement actions and what they would arrest people for. I mean, literally there were people arrested for no seatbelt in a vehicle. Now, I don't envision that to be someone sitting in the passenger seat without a seatbelt on. What I think that probably is the people that were standing up in the back of Jeeps and, you know, holding on to the bars and driving down the beach. I think it was probably more something like that, but there was a whole bunch of public intoxication. I saw a couple for like a glass container on the beach, a whole lot of minor stuff, but I think that law enforcement was trying to send a message to the rowdiest of attendees or party goers. And so now obviously there was a lot of driving while intoxicated. I believe in the newspaper it said there was maybe 3 shootings. There were some injuries. I think a woman either fell or jumped or something from a vehicle and sustained some serious injuries. I think there was another incident where a driver hit that pedestrian sustained serious injuries. There was another report that said at least 50 people were hospitalized in some capacity over the weekend due to goings on at Crystal Beach. And I want you to remember when I say these numbers, when I say Friday, and I said 117 in the county and 70 at Crystal Beach, we know Friday ended at midnight. So if you're looking at overnight each night, it was probably higher, but just, you know, purely with the records that you can get on the arrests, you know, 519 stopped at midnight and then 520 started. So there was probably a substantially lower amount of arrests during the day, because from what I could tell looking at social media posts, most of the rowdy activity happened after dark. But I just thought it was interesting that if you look at, over the years, this event here in Galveston County, specifically on Crystal Beach, has just gotten worse and worse with the amount of arrests because of the people that are attending. I guess are just here for one big party rather than actually here for the Go Topless event. And the reason I say that is because the Go Topless initially was, or still is, a nationwide movement for Jeeps and Jeep clubs to congregate and get together on this day and, just have a good time as Jeepers. What has happened in Crystal Beach is that there are less and less Jeeps and more side-by-sides, partiers, big trucks, and a lot less Jeeps than usual. And as a comparison, right down the road in Brazoria County at Surfside Beach, apparently there was a large turnout of Jeepers, and apparently they had no incidents. There was a statement apparently issued by the Surfside Police Department that they had no issues and that all the Jeepers were nice and respectful of the beach and what happened there. So I guess in the coming years we'll have to see what happens here in Galveston County, or at least on Crystal Beach, with this event every year that just seems to get worse and worse every year. And when I say worse and worse, I mean arrests, injuries. I think last year we also had a couple of shootings, and so it's just getting to the point that it's not a family-oriented weekend anymore over there on Crystal Beach. But today will be a short video. That's about what I got. Like I said, we had 395 total arrests in the county from Friday to Sunday, and I counted about 250 of those out of Crystal Beach. Now, when I say Crystal Beach, I actually mean, you're talking about from the ferry landing, which is Port Bolivar, all the way down to, let's say, Gilcrest. I did not look into Chambers County or anything in High Island, but I did count anything that was all the way from Port Bolivar, down to Gilcrest, which is basically the entire peninsula beachfront. I did not go, for those of you familiar with the beach over there, when you get past Gilcrest and then you hit the curve, that actually goes into High Island, and it's not beach anymore. So I didn't look at any of those just statistics or numbers. I just looked at the ones on the actual beachfront. Anyway, I hope y'all have a good week, and we'll see y'all next week.